Norris already had one hand on the Drivers' World Championship title, but a mistake by McLaren has brought a monster back to life, one that will do whatever it takes and whatever is necessary to win. Welcome then to the penultimate round of the Formula One World Championship, the Qatar Grand Prix. How hard must it be for McLaren to go from almost having the Drivers' Championship secured to now possibly losing it in the final stretch of the season, but there's no time to analyze and reflect on what happened. Formula One heads to the Middle East for a race that could decide everything or set up a final showdown. This time, Qatar's Lusail circuit offers contenders a chance for a dramatic finish and to settle things. Finally, this battle, with the context that Norris has a 24-point lead over Piastri and Verstappen. But after what happened in Las Vegas, the Orange team's mood can't be great, and that will affect the outcome. The three contenders have a crucial mission. Norris must finish this fight, while Piastri and Verstappen will do anything to stop him. Let's begin the preview of the 2025 Qatar Grand Prix of Formula One. History awaits a driver to crown him as champion at the end of the season, with two drivers chasing the dream of lifting that crown for the first time and one aiming to make the most historic and incredible comeback seen in 70 years in this category. All of this spiced up with a sprint race. Those 8 points up for grabs in the 19 laps of this mini competition could be key and decisive when it comes to settling this showdown. With this in mind, it's time for Formula One to visit the last two rounds before the end of the season. In the last stretch to be raced in Asia, where this time Qatar and its circuit are featured on the calendar. Ready to bring us drama and excitement that could grow or come to an end at the conclusion of this race. So ladies and gentlemen, let's start this preview by getting to know the circuit that will host round number 23 of the Formula One World Championship. Lusail, Qatar. The Lusail International Circuit is a permanent desert track in this city. It was inaugurated for motorcycle racing in 2004. 5.4 km of track, 57 laps, 16 turns, there's only one drag reduction system zone and just a single overtaking spot. It is characterized by being a circuit with fast linked corners, hot and extremely treacherous. The Lusail circuit lap begins with Sector 1, featuring a long straight and challenging corners that require precision. The main straight is extremely important on this circuit, as it's the only drag reduction system zone here. It activates just before the finish line and extends all the way to the braking zone for turn 1. It's quite long and the only clear overtaking zone on the circuit, making it one of the most crucial areas of the track. From there, drivers encounter two tough medium-high speed corners, turns 1 and 2, which are hard on the car and demand precise lines. But if we're talking about precision, we have turns 4 and 5, a combination of medium-high speed corners where the limit is really being pushed. On the exit of those, you need solid entries and precision on the way out to take them at the highest possible speed. It's a section that demands precision from the start, but it's just the tip of everything that's coming up later on this fast-paced circuit. The second sector is extremely technical, with 6 turns, most of which are medium-speed corners. The main focus of this section is stability and a clean exit from each of the turns. This sector is known for constant steering movements to tackle every single corner. This area is tough on tires, but knowing how to rotate the car is key to handling these challenging turns. And the cars with the greatest stability through the corners will be the ones that shine. In this part in particular, the tire starts to heat up and you begin to prepare for the most ridiculously fast section of this circuit. The last sector is the fastest on the track. It has 5 corners, but turns 12, 13, and 14 are really just bends. Where you go flat out, all 3 corners are smooth right-handers, which means you can go full throttle. And the biggest challenge is the car's stability to get through these 3 bends, which doesn't end here, because turn 15 is also a pretty fast left-hander, where you usually just need to slow down a bit to get through it. And again, on the exit, it's very unforgiving if you push the limits, and after getting through these ultra-fast corners, finally the cars face turn 16. A medium-speed right-hander where you need a clean exit and good traction to tackle the straight and finish an extremely fast and challenging lap. To this particular circuit, the AEL features a track similar to its hot desert, tough, unforgiving, and intolerant of mistakes. Its blazing fast corners push drivers to their limits. And that's where this circuit punishes those who aren't precise. It's a track that destroys tires and fully tests the aerodynamic capabilities of the cars. In summary, in Sector 1, the car's speed on the curved straight is most important. In the second, it's the car's grip and stability exiting corners. In the third, it's the excellent aerodynamic support in fast corners. Other factors on this circuit include the low likelihood, but not impossibility, of a safety car due to the track's difficulty. Since it was added to the calendar in 2021, we've seen this device appear quite often. In the 2023 sprint, there were 3 safety car neutralizations, while in regular races we've seen 4 neutralizations in 2 Grands Prix. This track's runoff areas make neutralizations less likely. But the circuit is so demanding and pushes the drivers to such high levels of physical exhaustion that mistakes become much more common, making it more likely for the race to be neutralized. So, Qatar and its circuit have up to a 52% chance that the safety car will end up making an appearance. Brakes and traction matter, but this circuit doesn't challenge them much due to few slow corners and heavy braking zones. They're important, just not pushed to the limit. And the cars are usually set up with medium-high downforce setups to handle the numerous corners with varying speeds throughout this circuit, where there are very few straights available, and as for clear overtaking points, there is only one in particular, which is the braking zone at turn 1 combined with the main straight. To overtake, you need a strong exit from turn 16 and must slipstream your rival down the straight to complete the move, whether it's before turn 1 or during the braking itself. And because of the shape of the corner, you can make overtakes both on the inside and on the outside. It's a track and a particular corner that allows for different ways to attack it, and that's why you can overtake both on the inside and on the outside. This circuit really offers only one big opportunity, and it's clearly the best spot for overtaking. But in most cases, it's necessary to have tire conditions that are favorable when it's time to attack. Overtaking is tough here since there's just one spot, and it's also hard to follow other cars. With many slow corners and punishing dirty air, overtaking difficulty is 3 out of 5. Difficult. It's possible but usually complicated to set up a proper overtaking chance. In the Lusail pit lane, you drive at 80 km/h, but because the lane is so long, transit time for cars increases significantly. At this particular point, Suelta,
its entrance and exit are alongside the main straight,
not requiring a sudden swerve either to enter or to exit. And what about a full stop? And a tire change can be completed in about 27 seconds. And tire wear is extremely high, even though the asphalt isn't that abrasive. There's a lot of suffering from the lateral loads and tire stress, which are pushed to the limit on this track. In fact, due to Pirelli's concern that the tires might not withstand these tough conditions, a maximum usage of 25 laps per set has been established. So no matter what they do, the drivers will be required to make 2 pit stops by obligation. The tires for this competition are the C1, C2, and C3, the hardest range from the Italian manufacturer. Qatar poses a major challenge, but in the heat of battle, it can deliver a race worth discussing. It's a hot, challenging circuit where a lot of precision is required, and where, in the heat and context of this battle, even the slightest mistake could it decide or completely turn around the situation in the Drivers' Championship? By now, everyone knows what happened in Las Vegas. Max won, and after the McLaren drivers were disqualified, he's just 24 points from ending the Papaya men's dream. A major error by the world champion team could cost them the crown at the last minute, raising tension to its peak, with everyone looking for answers. So it's time to see what awaits teams and drivers for this penultimate round to be contested on Qatari soil. McLaren was close to winning the Drivers' Championship, but their mistake with the car's floor plank wore it down too much. And the subsequent disqualification in Las Vegas has meant that Max Verstappen, who was almost out of the title fight, is now back in it. Before discussing the drivers' title chances, we need to understand what happened with McLaren and if it will impact their pace going forward. The thing is, McLaren has always been praised for their ability to run close to the ground and thus maximize the performance of their car. But in Las Vegas, they were caught off guard by it, by porpoising, which appeared in the car specifically, and they weren't able to detect it in time due to the limited practice sessions that weekend, where a red flag had an impact. The race simulation in Practice 2 and Practice 3 was washed out, so supposedly they couldn't anticipate how the car was behaving. Several rumors surfaced that after the Brazilian Grand Prix, the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile found some teams using expandable titanium skid plates. This lets cars run lower and protects the wooden plank to prevent disqualification. However, based on reports from some media outlets, this would actually have the opposite effect. If these plates expand, the plank would end up touching the ground more often and would wear out more. So it actually seems quite unlikely that this is what affected McLaren this weekend. Could what the Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile found in Brazil have slowed McLaren and affect their performance in the next Grand Prix? From what has been read about it, it's understood that Las Vegas, being a weak spot for McLaren, led them to try a risky setup to be more competitive. But they were caught off guard by the irregularity of the asphalt and the porpoising, which resulted from this aggressive setup and the limited information they could gather from practice. That's why McLaren is investigating internally to determine if they can use a low ride height again in Qatar or if they'll need to raise the car, especially on that track. This would mean a significant performance loss, so McLaren is taking a risk. Was Brazil's outcome just because of the track and that weekend's events? Or do they have a problem with the car, and because of this, will they have to raise the car as a precaution and lose performance? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something we will only know once we get to race weekend. If they regain form, Qatar and Abu Dhabi circuits should favor the car by playing to its single-seater strengths. This gives them a chance to close out the contest. Norris also holds a 24-point lead over Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri. So only he, regardless of what happens in the Qatar race, is the only one who has a chance to win the world title at the next Grand Prix. He just needs to score 2 more points than Piastri and Verstappen to eliminate them from contention. If nothing unusual happens in the sprint and he finishes at least 6th, he just needs to win the race to secure the title. And if he manages to win the sprint, he just needs to finish ahead of both of them to close it out. If in any case he's not able to win and Max Verstappen ends up taking the victory, Lando Norris must make sure to finish at least 3rd in Qatar and Abu Dhabi and at least 4th in the sprint. With those results, the title is completely his, so it entirely depends on him to become world champion at this moment. Meanwhile, Piastri must not lose those 2 points to keep his world champion hopes alive until the next race. If the gap goes up to 26 points, he would be mathematically eliminated from the fight. But we also can't rule out that, after what happened in Las Vegas, McLaren might fully back Lando Norris and we could see team orders. McLaren says they won't use them unless Piastri is out of contention, but nothing is certain. The championship is still well within Landon's reach. Norris showed great strength in Mexico and Brazil with flawless weekends. If he repeats that performance, he could become world champion. And this is the big test that Formula 1 gives him to show if he's up to what it means to be a champion. So, in summary, Norris depends on himself and Piastri needs to win and wait to see what happens with Landon and Max. So McLaren just has to gather strength and not fall apart after what happened in Las Vegas. Wait for their car to finally be competitive like they hope. But what if everything works again? The driver's title is still in their hands and only they can lose it at the end of this season. Mercedes has nearly locked in 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship after Las Vegas. However, they may have missed their last real chance to win on their own there. Their gap to Red Bull is 40 points, with their trend of scoring with both cars. Unlike Red Bull and Ferrari, they can easily manage this difference. As the season ends, it's hard to say if they'll be competitive in Qatar, since the hot track will highlight the car's main weakness, overheating. Even so, they're aiming for a great result, knowing they hold the driver's runner-up spot and have set all hopes on 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, for the 2nd time this season, McLaren has given Max Verstappen another shot at the title and now has a 24-point deficit with 2 races left. Yes, it's a very big gap, but not impossible. But the big problem for Verstappen is that at this point, it still doesn't depend on him. To become world champion, even if he wins the next 2 races of the championship and the sprint, he still needs certain combinations of results. If Lando Norris doesn't make the podium in Qatar, even a 3rd place finish in Abu Dhabi won't make him champion of the Archangels. Whatever happens, Max cannot become world champion in Qatar, even in the best scenario for him. If Lando Norris retires from both the sprint and main race, his maximum lead before the final race would be 9 points. What keeps him in the championship fight is that Norris leaves this weekend with only a 2-point lead. And even though on paper the Qatar circuit should benefit McLaren, if they don't mess up the setup, they should be in the fight. They also have a fresher engine than the Papaya team's drivers. Plus, McLaren will likely be emotionally shaken after Las Vegas, which favors them. We'll see if Max can pull off the most epic comeback in Formula 1 history. At this point, it's still very difficult, but with Max, anything can really happen. Ferrari's already aware that they won't finish as runner-up in the Constructors' Championship this year, and the only good thing about this is that they'll have more wind tunnel hours than their direct rivals for next season. Still, finishing fourth in a year they were expected to compete for titles is very disappointing. Ferrari would need a miracle to take second in the Constructors' standings, and that seems potentially difficult to happen with two teams involved in this fight. Besides, it looks quite hard for them to be able to fight for the win under normal conditions. Both in Qatar and for Ferrari, they are getting ready to finish a year where they did not fight for the titles. And probably, if nothing strange happens, they won't have a single success all season. Despite Carlos Sainz scoring 10 points in Las Vegas, Williams still comfortably leads for 5th place in the Constructors' standings. They're 31 points behind Racing Bulls, so catching up in the few remaining races seems unlikely. The only issue is Williams could face trouble in Qatar. It's a tough track for their car, as Qatar's corners and strong grip usually hurt the British single-seater. But if they somehow manage to come out with more points than all their midfield rivals, especially Racing Bulls, they'll pretty much have 1.5 feet in the fight for that 5th place in the Constructors' Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a crucial battle for 6th place in the Constructors' Championship with 4 teams competing. Racing Bulls lead by 17 points over their closest rival, giving them a strong advantage. And they know they have a chance this weekend to finish the job at a circuit that could suit them well, and with that, look for those points this weekend that could practically put all their rivals in this fight in check, especially. After 2 outstanding performances, Haas could barely see the points thanks to the disqualification of the McLaren cars in Las Vegas, but they scored fewer points than all their direct rivals. And they're heading to Qatar looking for redemption and a good haul of points to get back into the fight. They have to justify that last-minute upgrade they installed with a great result, and only that 6th place finish could help them with that particular goal. It's not hard. The Haas has shown to be efficient, especially on this circuit, but we'll see if they match their Mexico performance at the Brazilian Grand Prix. For Aston Martin, in theory, the worst on track is already behind them, and out of the last 3 circuits of the season, this is the one that suits their car best. And maybe it's their last big chance to finish in that 6th place in the Constructors' standings, or at least to get back 7th place. The problem is that internally, things within this team aren't very positive. There have already been rumors of tensions between Alonso and the top management. And now you have to add the rumors that Aston Martin might be thinking about removing their team principal, Andy Cowell, after some internal problems that have come up. What is he doing? Rumor has it they're now considering replacing them with Andrea Seidel or even Christian Horner. Changing your team principal just months before new technical regulations is never a good sign. We'll need to watch this team to see if they can capitalize on what may be their last big chance this season, especially on a track that should suit them well. Sauber is in the fight. 6th place seems tough to reach, but since they're only 5 points behind Haas, 7th place is still possible for this Grand Prix. They must use their qualifying strength to maximize their chances in a race where overtaking is tough. And if they do, they can't be ruled out of a fight that is still completely open. We'll have to see how Gabriel Bortoleto does after 2 big performance drops that cost him points and led to some silly accidents. We'll see if Sauber can pull off a surprise this weekend and get even more into this fight, or be eliminated completely. There's little to say about Alpine. They're in their final 2 races as engine suppliers on a circuit less demanding than Las Vegas. But lately, the car's performance, at least on Pierre Gasly's side, has given them opportunities so that at least scoring points seems like a possibility. Qatar is a track that should be much better for them than Las Vegas was, and if this good pace remains, maybe they could come out with a good result, even though points still seem extremely difficult to achieve, under normal conditions. Regarding the weather, as usual in these desert areas, there will be no rain during any of the 3 competition days. Stable temperatures are expected, not too hot, ranging between 21 and 23 degrees, but with a 0% chance of rain. This applies to Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a dry track this weekend as we head into the penultimate round of the Formula 1 World Championship. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where the historical data section would go. But considering that Qatar has only been in Formula 1 for 3 years, and we've already covered almost all the historical data in previous previews. Honestly, my throat is sore, so we'll keep this last part brief with some quick facts. This Grand Prix has been held since 2021 except in 2022 when Qatar hosted the Fédération Internationale de Football Association World Cup. But once the 2023 season arrived, they signed a 10-year contract, so we'll have the Qatar Grand Prix for many more seasons. Although, according to some rumors that have circulated in the past, this country might be considering building another circuit that would be much more suitable for Formula 1. Although that information hasn't been confirmed, if it's true, it could open up the opportunity to see a much better track than the current Lusail circuit. Red Bull is the most successful team in this Grand Prix history, with wins in 2023 and 2024. Lando Norris set the fastest race lap last year in his McLaren with a time of 1:22.384, which makes him the holder of that race record. And the all-time top winner of this competition is Max Verstappen, who won the 2023 and 2024 editions of this Grand Prix. Those are the only facts for today. And forgive me, but this circuit and this Grand Prix really don't have much history. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our 2025 Qatar Grand Prix preview. Now I ask, can Max Verstappen turn the World Championship around? Will Lando Norris clinch the title after the Qatari Grand Prix? And of course, let me know your top 3 of who you think will be the first 3 drivers on the podium at the end of this Sunday's Qatar Grand Prix. Let me know all your opinions in the comments section. That's all from me. I'll say goodbye by telling you that if you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so you know when I'm uploading a new video, and share this with your friends as well. So I invite you to follow us on our Instagram and Twitter accounts. The links will be in the description of this video, and I'll see you this Sunday, For the recap at the end of the Qatar Grand Prix, thank you for tuning in and see you later.